In the beginning, the universe was created. This has been widely regarded as a bad move. Yes. Fun thing too, Omni. We were talking about this in a previous. I think we were talking about this last week. The first line of Genesis does not actually translate to "in the beginning." God created the heavens, the earth. It translates to begin with." Elohim separated the skies from the earth, but it's not in the beginning like this is the beginning of everything. It's to begin this process of creating the earth, and so even Genesis implies there was more before. Yes, what do you believe about aliens? I don't necessarily believe anything in particular, like like mathematically, the number of planets and the number of galaxies there are in the universe, it's mathematically almost impossible for there not to be intelligent life elsewhere. That's about the extent of it. Like, I don't know that I think any intelligent life has ever gotten to this planet. Like, if intelligent life got to this planet from as far away as it would have to be so much more technologically advanced than us that it's unlikely it would consider us intelligent life. Like, it would probably consider us the same way we consider dogs. I've always imagined a god being an incorporeal being of light. Gender, a useless concept for it. Absolutely, Storm. Were aliens created? I mean, no. Like, not in a way that would be different. Created implies creator. Like, created is a loaded word because it implies that something that exists was created by something external to it. It's like it's created in the same way that waves are created in the ocean. Like, there's not something external to the, well, I mean, it kind of is, but it's a force that is self-contained. It's part of the system. Probably I was taught kindness. The problem with this debate is that it always involves such a narrow definition of God. This is also true. Yeah, Dan McClellan is absolutely fantastic. I am giggling that someone thinks they have read more books than me. It's interesting. I was taught by literalist. Everything in the Bible happened. Every story real. If you've seen Annihilation, I love the Mandelbulb alien. It was unfathomable. Yes, and everything was created. I mean, we don't know that. We know that everything exists. That's as far as we can get. Aren't our photos of galaxies like really old by the time we see them? What if they're dead? Yes, because of the amount of time it takes light to get to Earth. So it's depending on how far. Like, we would know which ones were dead based on, because we know. I think we're able to determine how long it took the light to get to us. So if it took long enough, we would know. Nothing exists. It's an illusion. That's right. It's all a simulation. Humans are the third most intelligent species on the planet. That's probably giving us more credit than we deserve. I mean, it's an assertion. To me, it is an assertion without evidence to say that everything was created. We can say that everything exists because we can observe it. A creator created a creator that created a creator. Creators all the way down and all the way up. Dolphins, bro, they freak me out. I mean, it's true. They can breathe water. No, they can't breathe water. They're mammals. They just like to swim a lot. But the behind mice and dolphins, just ask Douglas. Yeah. It's and it also depends on what one considers intelligence. You've heard orcas are really, really smart. Yeah. I love them, but they have their own language. I mean, to be fair, so do like the Greeks. So do the Romans. So do the French. But yeah, coming from a linguistic background, when I have these conversations, and this, and I don't even call it a debate because it's just a conversation, because I'm not out trying to convince anybody else that there are no gods. I'm only ever interested in explaining my own thoughts and my own lack of beliefs, my own ideas. You cannot say nothing was created. You can't have matter or atoms or the Big Bang is there was. That's an interesting sentence. You cannot say nothing was created, because I know what you're saying, but to say that is linguistically saying that you can't say that nothing was created. which is true because nothingness doesn't exist by definition. That is the nature of nothingness. We can say that we don't know that anything that exists was created because we've never experienced creation. We've never experienced the emergence of something that did not exist. We've seen matter get rearranged into new forms. We've seen the construction of things, the fabrication of things, and the building of things, but we've never experienced creation. But we've already outlined a hypothesis by which everything that exists always existed and always will exist. It didn't have to be created. It's eternal. They don't live in the ocean. Have a splendid evening. Thank you, Jaytheist. I respect it. If there, I'm a Satanist, a real Satanist, for people who use labels. Well, there you go. Yeah. Suppose nothing is a state. Did nothing come from somewhere? I create nothing all the time. Beamer. It's okay. Yes, it does not exist without something. We often think of blackness as nothing, but even this darkness is something. No, it doesn't exist without something. Well, nothingness doesn't exist. That's the definition. It is the absence of. It's just absence. Yeah. And so even my it's sort of facetious, it's sort of tongue-in-cheek, the idea that like the universe is the something, but outside of the universe is nothing. It's facetious because it's going to sound funny because this is meant to be a different meaning, but there is nothing outside the universe, but there's not a nothingness, as if it's like a buffer or like a vacuum is something. A Satanist, wow. I have a feeling that Amy has a misconception about Satanists. Then you believe in something. Do you believe in magic? I've never said I don't believe in anything. I said I don't believe in any supernatural beings, and I don't believe that there's anything outside the universe. I think nothing is a product of language, in all honesty, and it shaped the way we think. Well, it's like the number zero. I think Omni was saying that the number zero has different functions. Zero can be a number, but it's the number of absence. But zero is also a placeholder. It's a symbol we use to imply that no thing goes in this place. And so we have a conception of it, but it's not a thing. If the universe does reset, do you think this is evidence of a form of reincarnation? I'm going to wind up getting behind here again. So Storm, I have this notion of reincarnation even within this universe that it's not one-to-one. Like I said before, I don't have a conception where your mind comes out of your body and goes somewhere and sits there as a single unit and then gets downloaded into a new body, integrated like wholesale, like contiguously, where you would have like a continuity of existence. It's the idea that like the analogy I've used is if you had two pitchers of water, you had a pitcher of water with red food dye and a pitcher of water with blue food dye, and you pour out this water into two ice cube trays. You freeze it up. You now have red ice cubes and you have blue ice cubes. Those are people. And then, you pull these out, say somebody dies. So you take a red ice cube and you throw it back in the pitcher. And then another person dies. So you take a blue ice cube and you throw it back in the same pitcher. And those ice cubes melt and they become purple water. Somebody's born. So you pour some of that purple water into somebody else is born. You pour the rest of that purple water into the ice cube tray. You put them back in the freezer and you freeze them up. Pull them out. It's all the same water, but now you have all these red ice cubes and a purple ice cube and all these blue ice cubes and a purple ice cube. It's all the same water. It's just been redistributed and recombined a little bit. And that's what I think happens to the energy of minds. So to me, reincarnation is essentially like your mind is made up of not quite infinite number of particles, but like an unfathomable number of particles, quote unquote particles of energy. And when you die, that energy gets dispersed back out into the cloud, the electromagnetic cloud that surrounds the earth. When someone is born, some of those particles of energy get pulled into that new mind. And so those particles have been part of uncountable minds before and will be part of uncountable minds again, but there's all different parts. So a mind is made up of parts of almost infinite numbers of different minds. And so it's not a one-to-one reincarnation from one body to the next, but it is a recycling of that energy. Now, when it comes to the idea of the universe resetting and moving from one incarnation into another, the idea that I don't think that mathematically it's probable that the universe would unfold the same way each time, because if you just think about a deck of playing cards, there's 52 cards. If you deal out 5 cards at random, whatever hand you get, there is a 1 in 311 million chance that those 5 cards were going to come out in that order. That's just 5 cards. That's 5 variables. If you dealt out all 52 cards, I don't even remember the number, but it's like an extremely high number. 52 variables. You're talking about every atom in the universe. And so the probability of one incarnation of the universe being the same as the previous is almost mathematically impossible. It's possible. It's a 1 in a vanishingly small number. So the next version of the universe will be nothing like this version of the universe. Could have completely different laws of physics. If you are a Satanist, you believe in something other than you. Not strictly, Amy. And I'm 13 messages behind. I'm going to catch up so that I don't repeat what other people have probably already said. It's cool that physicists theorize on space-time geometry, like it has a boundary. Always us, but different form. Yep. True Satanist doesn't believe in anything. We are just free to do as we please without damnation. Non-theistic Satanists are based and chill. Theistic Satanists are mega corny. I think everything dies, our body and us. Our personality comes from our frontal lobe. All I'm here to say is that I love your content and appreciate you. Thank you, $3 sandwich. Because you are deciding to choose a name, a Satanist believes in the opposite of God, therefore you believe in God. That is an illogical conclusion, Amy. Let's see. Satanist. I'm a Satanist only when it comes to religious people badgering me. I just want peace. Satanists only use the symbol of Satan. They are technically atheists. Yes, it is. Satanists are based on the biblical beliefs. They're not, Amy, and I hope nobody beats you to this, because I love the topic of Satan because of how badly modern Christians misinterpret it. If we could guarantee your safety, would you get your brain transferred into a bot? If you could guarantee my safety, I would actually rather have my mind backed up, like saved into a file, but more or less as a satirical kind of jab. Yeah, that's a Hollywood version. No, it is named in the Bible. Well, oh, here we go. I caught up. So, Amy, talking about Satan. Satan is only mentioned in 2 books of the Bible, in Job and I think Zechariah. And in those instances is mentioned as Ha-Satan. So in Hebrew, Satan just means adversary. The serpent in the Garden of Eden was not Satan. It wasn't even Satan. It was Hanahash. Ha-Satan means the adversary with like a capital T and a capital A. So it's like the grand arch nemesis. That's the extent. That's it. Satan is only mentioned in the book of Job, and literally only in that story exists to antagonize, I think it's Elohim at that point, well, it's Yahweh, into destroying Job's life on a dare. There's the idea that Satan is an angel or a fallen angel or an antagonist or that is the warden of hell is all later fan fiction, most of which came from Dante's Inferno. But the idea of Satan is a modern Christian invention that's not based on the Bible. Hell was created by the Catholic Church. Judaism does not believe in the form of hell that modern Christians believe in. To be honest, even when I was a Christian, I always wondered if Satan was the good guy. Well, and Storm, that's the other reading of the fan fiction version. The idea that Satan just wanted to give humanity the knowledge that the gods had, and God wasn't down with that, and so threw Satan out. Like Satan waged a war to try to take over. All later fan fiction. None of that comes out of the Bible. Judaism had Sheol, not hell. Same. What if you realize God is not a chill guy, but he got punished for it? The only gods that exist is us. That's the secret. I mean, realistically, I've said we've never experienced creation, but that's not strictly true. We create art, we create poetry, and so like even paintings are still just a reforming of matter, right? We're taking the paint and we're putting it in a formation that creates an image. Music is an act of creation. Poetry is an act of creation. And even still in the forms that you can experience it is because music is still just sound waves. So it's physical existence, but it's being manipulated. And so the music is not the sound waves. The sound waves carry the music. Amy B, it says Satan 4 times. Which does? Job and Zechariah? We could pull that up in the interlinear Bible. Hey Scullin from St. Louis. Thank you for enjoying my content. I'm glad people get something out of it. I won't say everybody. I am glad anybody gets anything out of what I do. Interlinear Bible. Satan. Let's see here. Let's see. In the Greek for Satan is Satanan. By the way, Plaguer, by the way, I love your content and thank you for debating and not arguing. Mad respect. Thank you. Yeah, arguments feel like I like conversations. That's why I jokingly said, "Hey, Michael." That's why I jokingly said in the video that we could get a bicker. Like, to me, a debate is one thing. A debate is like a structured, formal. You've got a third party moderator. You've got time limits. An argument is like there feels like there has to be an objective. Like if I'm arguing something with somebody, it's like in court. You're arguing. You're trying to make a case for a reason. I like conversations. I like to learn what other people think, why they think it, share what I think if people want to know, because that's how I learn. Like I like to hear other people's experiences and perspectives so that I can integrate that new information into what I think. Storm, my shirt is from, this is a minor league baseball team in the Southern League. They are the Rocket City Trash Pandas. And they've existed for 2 years. They're in their 3rd season. Last season, they lost in the playoffs. They made it to the playoffs, but they lost. And they, after that, started calling themselves the Defenders of the Diamond. So, I had to get... My favorite... Rocket Raccoon is my favorite Guardian of the Galaxy. One of my favorite Marvel characters. Cue The Conjuring 3. A master Satanist is not an adversary to be taken lightly. You learn from a debate. The only thing you learn from anger is regret. Satanos, I think. FR likes to toss it out every now and then. You have such a calm demeanor. It makes it so much more enjoyable. Thank you, Storm. Oh, whoa. What's going on? Not much, dude. About to get ready for date night. There you go. Enjoy. That's awesome. Yeah, we've covered a lot today. Thank you, Plaguer. I try to be a chill guy. And it's mostly for me. Honestly, the fact that anybody else gets anything out of it is just like extra benefit, because being chill was more about my own like mental health, because I've talked about this before. I used to have a horrific temper, which is not to say I don't have it anymore, because anger is not really a thing you get rid of, but I have better control over it. It goes back to the idea of energy, that anger is a form of energy, and you can't destroy it, but you can convert it into a different form, and you can convert it into a form that's usable for work. So I didn't get rid of my anger, I just figured out how to use it more constructively, which was all for me. Now, the fact that anybody gets anything out of that other than me is absolutely fantastic, and like it's really, really rewarding. Love is the only true religion we need. Yeah. Love the OG cap shield. Yeah, the heater shield. And Mjolnir. Where were we at here? Job. Interlinear Bible. Job. Satan. There we go. That's right. It was chapter 1. Job chapter 1. And Yahweh said to Satan. And it was Yahweh. El Hashatan. Right? That's it. How do we pronounce it? Hasatan. Yep. Which is the adversary, who is mentioned in Job, the first chapter of Job, the second chapter of Job, and the third chapter of Zechariah. So literally only 3 chapters of the Old Testament. If you cut it down to just Satan, it's mentioned in 1 Kings and 1 Chronicles and is translated as adversary. Am I a philosophical atheist or a colloquial atheist? I'm definitely a philosophical atheist. Good time zone, everyone. Hey, Lime! I have to go, but thank you for the stream, man. Have a great night. And you have a great night too, Plaguer. Thank you. It's hard hearing wrong things in smug ignorance and not reacting emotionally. That is absolutely true. I take my time on certain videos when something really gets under my skin. I have to process it for a little bit. I have to let the emotional reaction sort of mellow and pass and firm up into thoughts, because that's kind of the way that I view the neurochemical energy of emotion versus thought, is that the emotion is that chaotic energy, and a thought is when you take that chaotic energy and impose order on it. So I have to take that reaction that I don't choose, that feeling, that emotion, and I have to form it into something articulable. I have to script it. I have to put it on a teleprompter and then read it. Because just reacting emotionally isn't going to be productive. It's not going to be productive for me, and then it's not going to be productive for anybody else. Do I ever engage with flirfs? I know I've heard that term. Flirfs may be the only people I don't entertain on an intellectual level. Like, it feels like a genuine waste of time. I feel like that's related to TERFs. Let's see, what's used to... Oh, flat earthers? Oh, no. Flat earthers are amazing to me. The flat earthers don't offend, like, when, like, TERFs, that's dealing with somebody who has, like, an opinion that affects, like, their view of other people, right? And, like, the validity of other people's lives and experiences. Flat earthers, I find them fascinating. And, like, I don't even know how many, I don't know what percentage I think actually believe the earth is flat, but, like, if somebody told me they legitimately believe the earth was flat, I would be like, please explain the whole thing to me. Like, tell me why you think that's true. And not in a, like, I think you're stupid and wrong, but, like, just, I just want to know, like, how that thought process really works. Dunning-Kruger syndrome. It's, yeah, it might be. It gets surprisingly anti-Semitic. That actually, it's not surprising. That doesn't surprise me. There's so much evidence against it, like all the evidence. I did make one video one time. Somebody asked me about, you know, how I would respond to flat earthers, and I was like, honestly, if there was a debate situation, I wouldn't get into the debate, because it's so absurd in terms of, like, we have to have an argument about it. Like, if somebody believes the earth is flat, I'm going to be like, enjoy your life believing the earth is flat. I'm not here to convince you it's not. But, but we've known that the earth was ellipsoidal for longer than Christianity has been around. And I made a video about the experiment that was actually done that not only determined that the earth, not only determined that the earth is ellipsoidal, but figured out the circumference of it within a couple of 100 miles. Like, the earth is 40,000 miles around. And this experiment that, I think it was Eratosthenes. I'm not going to spell his name right. Eratosthenes. There we go. Mathematician. Eratosthenes of Cyrene. He is best known for being the first person to calculate the circumference of the Earth, which he did by using the extensive survey results he could access in his role at the library. So literally a librarian and a mathematician figured out the circumference of the Earth just by looking at the data. It's so great watching them dunk on themselves. Yeah. Well, a debate is a debate. Yep. It's psychologically interesting, but on an engagement level, a total waste of time. We need to know what's behind the Arctic ice wall. We do. I wonder if it's like a paywall. My favorite is when they have no response when people get photographs of the ISS. I want to test your scientific knowledge. Fluff, my scientific knowledge, like what I actually have in my brain, is not that extensive. Like, I would absolutely play along, but my superpower is research. Like Boolean searches, knowing what keywords to search to find the information that I need. The billionaires are behind the ice wall. No, the trillionaires are behind the ice wall. Billionaires, I need to come up with a conspiracy theory. Billionaires are actually a smokescreen to distract us all from the trillionaires. True or false? Pine trees and elephants are related. True. I mean, every bit of organic life on Earth is related. It just depends on how closely. I also did just find out that pachyderms has been retired. The furries are the true pachyderms was retired. It was Greek, I think Greek for thick skin, and it used to be used for like elephants and hippopotami and rhinoceros, and it's true. Yep, I'm 0.12% gorilla. Yes, because they're both eukaryotes. What do you think about the billionaire? Fun fact, there's no such thing as a tree. Trees don't share a morphological family. No. See, that gets into what do I think about the billionaire? If you mean like conceptually, I think it's an atrocity. It is. You can only become a billionaire by hoarding resources that other people need. Oh, you mean the billionaires going in the sub? It's awful to say, but like that was a FAFO situation. Like, you don't go to the bottom of we are not built to exist at the bottom of the ocean. So like, you do something like that enough times, and that's going to be the outcome. Omni, the idea where you said there's no such thing as a tree. Trees don't share a morphological family. That gets into the Aristotelian idea between form and notion. Like there's the form of a chair, and then there's like the definition of a chair, because there are so many things that can fit the definition of a chair that can perform the function of a chair. So it's the idea that there are physical things we call chairs, but then there is an ideal form that is chair. And it's not a physical thing because a bunch of different physical things can fit that definition. Michael Anthony, then prove exactly what the math said, and then ignore it outright with a shrug. Correct. The billionaire sounds like a villain. How good is your knowledge on historical tax rates? My knowledge, not. I would have to research it. We are experiencing the late stage era of capitalism. Hopefully billionaires understand that. I think they do, and I don't think it's going to change anything they do. Because if you're already a billionaire, you already don't have a problem hoarding resources and exploiting like the labor and existence of other people. And so like I don't know what can change your mind at that point. Like, if you realize that we're in a point of no return, what's to stop you? What's to cause you to go backwards? Like, there's no incentive. Also, no such thing as a fish for the same reason. Not built for it anymore. It's a good long while since we were meant for the seas, right? Yeah. They made a diss track about the sub people. Today I learned fish and trees are all fake. Please do some research on historical tax rates in the U.S. Well, I mean, I do know. Okay, it's a lie to say that I don't know. Like, I know during Eisenhower the highest tax rate was like 91%, but it was on everything you made over $1 million, $2 million, $10 million, whatever it was. It was the highest marginal tax rate that affected, like, statistically, almost no one. But the amount of money it brought in, like, funded the nationwide highways. How do we know we're in late stage capitalism? Fluffy, honestly, this is how I know. Because in all the science fiction I read as a kid, all the utopian science fiction I read as a kid, the future was a place where no one had to work. Everything was automated. We had robots that did everything. Robots that made the food, cultivated the food, that built the houses. And so people were free. They didn't have to do labor. They didn't have to do menial things. They were free to do what they wanted and pursue their own interests. If somebody wanted to just paint for the next 100 years of their life, they could, because all of their needs were tended to, and everything they needed was provided. That's not the reality. Every time we see a situation where a company automates more, we see people lose their jobs, and the reaction is, oh no, they automated, now there's going to be more people in poverty. And so automation, instead of leading to freedom, leads to more economic slavery, and leads to... So the fact that we're in a dystopia is what tells me we're in late stage capitalism. Yeah, it was 92% for the wealthy in 1952. All right, got to get in the shower. Michael, I was supposed to log off half an hour ago, but I'm not going to. I'm going to stick around for another half hour so that I can split this evenly in half into 2 episodes. Billionaires used to not exist. Right. And I gotta make a note. Billionaires and Thanos. I'll come back to that. They understand it took how much Bezos is funding anti-aging immortality stuff. They're not ignorant. Birds are apparently fake too. They're spying on us. Oh, right. Yeah, no, birds don't. Birds aren't real. Birds are nothing but spy drones. We have to work extremely hard just to exist on this planet anymore. What if birds are aliens, like the creepy owl in The Fourth Kind? I'm the Antichrist. You're the Antichrist, Riv. I believe you. See, it'd be funny if your brother's name was Chris, and then you could be like, I'm the Antichrist. I don't see what's dystopian about automation personally. No, automation should lead to utopia. It should lead to the freedom to do what we want. It is leading to dystopia because when a job gets automated, a person is no longer required to do it. And so that person is now out of a job. If they can't get another job, they're going to wind up in poverty because they don't have a way to make money. So automation causing people to lose their jobs, creating poverty, tells me that this system is a dystopia. Ancient humans' irrigation is dystopian. Can an orca sink a yacht? I mean, almost certainly. I would put money that it could. No, about billionaires and Thanos. So Thanos' whole plan in the Infinity Saga was, I'm going to use the Infinity Stones to wipe out 50% of all life, because then the other 50% will have all of the resources. There is a logic there, but it's a really, really bad logic, because I don't know how things work in the rest of the galaxy or the universe, but on Earth, scarcity is fabricated. Scarcity is artificial. We have enough resources on this planet to take care of a population probably twice the size. We don't allow for it for bad economic reasons. So what Thanos had to do was not wipe out 50% of the population. Thanos needed to wipe out 3% of the population, but he needed to wipe out the right 3%. And he also had to make sure that the resources being hoarded by those 3% were then distributed back amongst the population. The problem with this is he would have to do it every generation or every 2 generations, because once everything got redistributed, over time, people would hoard again. And within 50 years, 100 years, you'd be back in the same situation. So we would have to create a situation in which first, the people hoarding, all of their resources got distributed, and then anyone who hoarded beyond a certain point just automatically vaporized and all of the resources got redistributed again. The mass displacement probably outweighs the new jobs. Most of the MCU villains weren't wrong, but their methods were questionable. Yeah, the MCU villains were right and did not think it through. The new jobs are highly specialized or have a steep learning curve. Yeah. It's like when we kick oil, right? People talk about build solar farms, build wind farms. If you build wind farms, those are construction jobs, and then you need people that are going to maintain them and people that are going to run those places. So those are jobs. You need people who can do those jobs. But the industry you're getting rid of, like, that's why efficiency is weird, because it cuts down on the number of people you need. In a utopian scenario, that's fine, because then those people are then free to go live and do what they want. You're up to $65 an hour. I mean, that's pretty good. So only low-skilled labor is under threat of automation. Generally, yeah. And that's the problem with capitalism, because capitalism's primary goal is capital. It's the production of wealth, is that the workers get treated as resources. And so if a company can cut down on how much it's paying, if you skimped on material when you were building a house, you would rightly get run out of a job, because if you're using shoddy materials to build a house, you're going to be, producing a bad product. The workers get treated as a resource. They're the one resource that companies are allowed to skimp on. They're allowed to actively try to spend as little as possible on them. That's why you get outsourcing. That's why, like, companies are the one, corporations are the ones to blame for there not being as much industry in the United States. Because if it's cheaper to go to another country and pay their workers a tenth of what it's legal to pay workers here, a company's going to do it. There's no incentive for them. That's why the whole idea of creating incentives for companies to have jobs here is, it's to offset that versus just making it illegal. Oil companies are investing in wind and solar energy. Yeah, I mean, oil's going to run out eventually. Oil is a finite resource, pretty much, but even accountants are in danger with AI, yeah. That was your pro-automation argument, because we already outsource labor to the third world. Well, like, honestly, everyone outsources labor all the time. If you hire an employee, like if you're a mom and pop store in your town and you hire an employee, you're outsourcing. You're saying, the amount of labor that needs to be done is more than I can do. I need to outsource this amount of labor to you, and I will pay you this amount of money to do that labor. That's outsourcing on the smallest scale. If you go to McDonald's for dinner after work, you're outsourcing. Because you're not going to the store, buying the food, bringing it home and making it. You're outsourcing the purchasing of the food and the preparation of the food. It's all outsourcing. It's just like on the most local scale. The problem is when you have like global incentives to do it, and economic incentives that exploit people who don't have either the knowledge to know they're being exploited or the means to do anything about it. That's why I never trust a company that busts unions, because unions are designed, and unions do have their problems like any organization populated by humans, but unions are designed to give the workers the means to fight for their own interests, because a company's almost never going to, I don't want to say never, but a company's almost never going to do that. A company fighting for its workers' interests is a very long-term understanding, because if you fight for your workers' interests, you build loyalty amongst your workers. Your workers will work for you, and they will, like, borderline enjoy it because they know you're looking out for them. But that's a massive investment, and it takes a lot more time to do that than it does to just take away their ability to fight for their own interest. If you go to the grocery store, you're still outsourcing, right? Yeah, unless you grow your own food from seeds you collect yourself, you're outsourcing. New stakeholder theory. Let's go. The last job I did, I got done in half the normal time. Yeah, that's why it's odd that we still have time-based jobs. Like, it's not entirely odd. Like, there are certain things that are service-based where you have to have people there to provide a service for the people who need it, and you don't know when they're going to come in. So, like, you're going to be there to provide the service. But it's weird then that there's a very distinct difference between being busy and being productive. Because if your job is to provide a service and there's no one coming in the door for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, it's weird that you're like required, like, go do something. You need to be busy. You need to be doing something. Like, if there's work to do, yes, absolutely. But it's like, if there's no work to do in that moment, you don't have to be busy. You're in a service industry. But like, if you work a job where you are producing something, if you produce the thing in a certain amount of time, that was your job. Your job wasn't, I need to be doing something for 6 hours or 8 hours or whatever it is. It was just that I needed to do this thing, and now this thing is done. So now pay me because the thing is done. Like, I did what you hired me for. Made almost double my rate because of it, right? Exactly. Yeah. If you get paid $60 an hour, and there's a job that could take an hour, but you do it in half an hour, you got paid $120 an hour for that job. Independent. I'm X-dependent. Bingo. Yep. let's see. Let's close the. Oh, I do still have the interlinear Bible up. Yeah, if I ever do readings of biblical chapters, I am going to refer. I'm not going to use the word God. I'm only going to use the word Yahweh and Elohim. Have you ever studied or considered studying formal logic, like the stuff I do? I studied is probably a strong word. I never took like extensive classes in it, but I have done a lot of amateur reading over the years. They're going nuts. What do I do for a living? Amy, I work in finance. Actually, I work for one of the top 4 credit unions in the world. Yahweh or Elohim both, so fluffy. In the first chapter of Genesis, Elohim, which is plural, and Elohim refers to themselves in the plural, the word is Elohim. In the second chapter of Genesis, it refers to Yahweh Elohim, both words as a phrase. So I believe Yahweh is the name of a particular deity, and Yahweh refers to himself in the singular, but also in the plural at other points. But it is both. They're taking out the security cameras and cutting open ATMs using construction equipment. One of these days, I'm going to read the Bible like a regular book. Yeah, live. I've read just recently the first, I think, 14 chapters. I got up to the War of Kings. I am not vegan because it's a lot of work and it's expensive. I heard Yahweh originated as a wind god. That I don't know about. I would be fascinated to know that. French know how to riot. Oh, yeah. No, I'm not vegan because I don't have a moral imperative to be vegan. Like, I don't think that that humans shouldn't eat animals. But if I had a dietary reason, I would be vegan. It's not like I'm opposed to being vegan. because cheese is delicious and yogurt is delicious. And no, I don't like Jell-O. Jell-O's disgusting. True, I had to switch though. Moral imperative for me, at least, was too strong. Yeah, and I totally understand people who do have that moral imperative. I just don't for me. But like, if somebody was like, I'm vegan because I believe all life is sacred, I'd be like, well, good on you. Like, the ability to stick to that is impressive. I think factory farming is a huge moral quandary. That and that gets into the capitalism of it. Like the idea that we're keeping creatures, we're not even treating them as life. We're treating them strictly as resources. What political side do I agree with? Are you talking party or are you talking like ideology? I'm definitely on the left side of the spectrum, and I'm farther left than a liberal. 2020 was the year that I discovered that I was... Yeah, 2020 was the year that I discovered that I was farther left than a liberal. I have voted for almost entirely Democrats in my life because in my lifetime, it has been Democratic candidates who have philosophically aligned with me. Yeah. I have agreed with Democratic candidates more than I have agreed with Republican candidates. And I voted for Republican candidates. I live in North Carolina, and while Walter Jones was running, I voted for him every year that he ran. January 2021 pushed you over the edge. I think it was the summer of 2020 that pushed me over the edge. And specifically, I don't know if this is going to get me flagged, specifically, it was because I realized I was far more comfortable with the use of violence as a political tool than liberals in general are. Not vegan, but I hate when anti-vegan people say plants have feelings like it's equivalent. I mean, that's the thing. If you're going to eat something that's alive, like at that point, it's a matter of degree. And other animals eat other animals, and we are just other animals. So, like, I don't separate humans from other animals enough to be like, no, I'm not going to. It comes down to a central nervous system. Can it feel pain? Amy, violence. And I don't mean for me personally. When there were riots occurring in certain cities and property was being destroyed, I realized I didn't have that much of a problem with it, because if a person gets killed unjustly by the government, and the police are agents of the government. So if someone is killed through police brutality unjustly, and there is a riot in response, the riot is destroying property, because it's the point that people are more valuable than property. And so if the reaction to a riot and the breaking of a window or the burning of a building, if the reaction to that is worse than the reaction to a person being killed, that is the problem, because it proves that this society values property over people. And specifically in relation to police violence or police brutality, the police exist as property protection. That's why local police are paid out of property taxes. How much they are paid is based on the property they're being paid to defend. And so if the reaction to a person being killed by the police is to destroy property, that's, to me, thematically appropriate. And I realized I didn't have enough of a problem with the use of violence as a political tool to call myself a liberal. Like, if I was a liberal, I'd be like, oh, no, we need to be calm. And I was like, no. When, oh, man, I might get myself in a lot of trouble. When I saw certain groups marching on the White House during the reality TV show host's tenure, if that had gone badly, I would not have been upset. Like, I was sitting here kind of cheering, and I was like, that's not the attitude of a liberal. Like, I discovered I was far more leftist than I knew. There it is. Yes, and that comes out of the presence. Yep, I hate that the BLM riots have been compared to January 6th. They are incomparable. January 6th was, oh no, my favorite contestant on American Idol lost. They were not as widespread as certain people want to make them out to be. But the riots of the summer of 2020 were not that. They were, hey, we are being targeted 12 times more frequently than other groups. We aren't going to, and I say we, I'm not part of that we. We're not going to abide it anymore. We are going to stand up against a tyrannical government. That's why the people who defend January 6th but complain about the summer of 2020, I'm like, the summer of 2020 was literally the people standing up against a tyrannical government, the law enforcement arm of a tyrannical government. Those are the people that, if you weren't a liar, you would support. I don't consider regressives, Patrick Lolo talked about this, I don't consider regressives hypocrites, because for them to be hypocritical, they would have to believe two contradictory things. They don't. They lie. They're liars. They believe one thing, and they say a different thing. Oh, let's see here. People say animals aren't worthy of moral consideration because they're dumb, but they feel pain just as acutely, if not more than humans. Yeah, the idea of saying that animals don't warrant moral consideration based on their intelligence is an extremely dangerous argument, because humans exist on a scale of intelligence. So I know I've encountered adult cats that are more intelligent than toddlers. So if intelligence is the scale, that's a really dangerous argument. The insurgent people are not for the people. They're not for America. No, they're absolutely not. What's the primary reason for my atheism? So for me, it's not a choice. For me, the reason for my atheism is because I have not encountered evidence that has convinced me that a theistic claim is true. So if the claim is there's a God that created the universe, I have not experienced evidence that convinces me that claim is true. So it's not like it's not a choice. It's not like somebody said, oh, there's a God, and I'm like, I don't want to believe that. It's because there's nothing that compels me to believe it. It's cool how some Buddhist monks train through pain but minimize the suffering. Animals absolutely feel. It's the suffering we care about in animals are mostly helpful and inconsolable. If you work in customer service, you know people are dumb. Yeah. I also love my animal babies. We have 3 cats. Usually they'd be picking at the door right now, but they're not. Yeah, belief is never a choice. You are either convinced you are not. And the question I'll ask when people want to imply that atheism is a choice, the question I always ask is, well, so you're a Christian, right? Yeah. And I said, well, could you choose in this moment right now, just for 5 minutes, choose not to believe? Stop believing. And I don't mean tell me that you don't believe. I mean, in your head, stop believing. And obviously they can't do it. Just like I can't choose to believe. They also couldn't choose to believe in a different God. They couldn't choose for even 10 minutes to say, I believe that Zeus is real. Because they don't. And it's not a matter of I can't choose to believe this. It's a matter of I have not experienced anything that compels me to think that's true. There may or may not be gods. I'll find out when I die. That's true, right? And the trick is you'll find out when you die, but you may not know. That's the true indoctrination. Yeah, there may or may not be gods. If there's not, you won't know. If there's not, you actually won't find out. I won't stop believing in a higher power. I felt it. And that's perfectly fine. I wouldn't try to talk you out of it. I've had these conversations with my mom. My mom found a theological belief that gave her the resources, the emotional and mental resources she needed to get through life. Why would I want to take that away from her? Or why would I want to take that away from any person? Like, I could tell you all the scientific reasons that a particular experience could be this, or could be this, or could be this. But if you have found the thing that helps you get through the world and navigate this life, it's destructive of me. Because if it's helping you be a good person, then like, what's my objective? To make you less likely to be a good person? Like, that's not helpful to anybody. Let's see. Where do we go? You do meet people who choose their belief, but you can almost pick up on their internal turmoil. Atheists still believe in imaginary things just as much as religious people. Let's see. I'm an atheist, but I really love the teachings of Jesus. Yeah, absolutely. I would almost call myself, I can't say Jesuit because that's an actual thing, but like a Christological is also not right because Christ is a title. It means like Redeemer. But like a student of the philosopher Jesus. Now, to be fair, to be a student of the philosopher Jesus is really just to be a Buddhist. Like, Jesus basically repackaged Buddhism for the Western world. For example, they believe in human rights. Which is, okay, so this is user 505. This is user random string of numbers. Claimed that atheists believe in all sorts of imaginary things. They believe in human rights, which is as real as the Holy Spirit. It's not, but we'll get to that. Because truth matters. Bro, why is it bad to make fun? Bro, why is bad to make fun of atheists? Jesus was a communist before it was cool. No, I think he was a socialist. I enjoy listening to the gospel, but don't necessarily agree with the message. Well, and Lime, it's like reading Lord of the Rings, right? I can read all of that fiction, and it is fantastical fiction, but I don't have to accept it as real, true, historical documents. I can appreciate the literature of it. Why is it bad to make fun of atheists or to be mean to them? I mean, it's as bad as it is to be mean to or make fun of anyone. It's not more bad to make fun of atheists. Do I wear deodorant? I do. So we're all liars. You're definitely socialists. Please show me scientific evidence of human rights. So, you claim human rights are imaginary. There's a difference between human rights and a supernatural deity insofar as human rights are an agreed upon thing. They are a social contract. So we agree as human beings that humans have rights. It's the same as numbers. It's the same as language. Language is an invention. Language is imaginary. Money is imaginary. It's a thing we invented. You don't have to believe in money. You don't have to believe in language, but they are things that we invented for our own purposes. Human rights is us saying that human beings deserve certain things. And it's all by agreement. It's not saying that it's a thing that exists external to us that we have to like download into ourselves. Yeah, there's no, well, and like time, you know, like the calendar, it exists by agreement. We have been evolutionarily tailored to believe in human rights. I don't remember. I know I read an excellent argument, but the idea is basically it, and it goes back to the core of Buddhism, the idea of the golden rule: do not do unto others as you would not have them do unto you, and do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So essentially, nobody wants to suffer. So this is a standard thing. I won't say no one, but the vastest majority of human beings don't want to suffer. So it is a human right to not suffer because we can all agree, I don't want to suffer and you don't want to suffer. So not suffering and not creating conditions that cause suffering is a human right. That's why like the idea of the inalienable rights that are enumerated in the Constitution, Declaration, Charters of Freedom, they are written down by agreement. We are agreeing that they are inalienable. We are agreeing to make them inalienable. Should we shame antisocial behavior? I mean, it's sort of the social control over, it's the social failsafe on bad behavior. Atheists. So atheists believe in fake things too, but their fake beliefs aren't good for society. No, I'd say that's incorrect. Also said atheists don't believe in, specifically atheists don't believe in supernatural things. Like theos is Greek for gods. So God, and my understanding of the idea of a god or a deity is that like the defining factor is that it exists outside the universe. If it exists inside the universe, it's just a natural thing that exists within the universe. It's not separate from the universe, so it's just part of physical reality. For it to be a god, a deity, it has to exist outside of the universe, and that's like the literal definition of atheist. Reminder that Rebecca Black's Friday exists. Stream now on your preferred app. Religious belief in spirits in a supernatural realm is unsubstantiated. How would you shame an atheist? I wouldn't. Do unto others, quote, is from the Bible. Do unto others, quote, is borrowed. The Bible borrowed it. The oldest expression, let's see, Golden Rule original. It's called the Golden Rule. Ancient history, possibly the earliest affirmation of the maxim of, it's called the maxim of reciprocity, reflecting the ancient Egyptian goddess Mat. Appears in the story of the eloquent peasant, which dates to the Middle Kingdom, about 2,000 years before Jesus would have been born. Now this is the command, do to the doer to make him do. This proverb embodies the do unto others principle. A late period papyrus, and this is 600 years before Jesus would have been born, contains an early negative affirmation of the Golden Rule. That which you hate to be done to you, do not do to another. So the Golden Rule, do unto others, predates the Bible by millennia. Shame social behaviors. Autistics enter the chat. Atheism is a tumor in society. It is not. Atheism is simply a lack of theism. See, that's far from home. It's interesting seeing people react to the concept of atheism because everyone has atheistic... I think Richard Dawkins said that everyone's an atheist. You just believe in one more God than I. I know Ricky Gervais repeated it too, but like a Christian doesn't believe in Zeus. They don't believe in Amun-Ra. They don't believe in any of the gods except for their one God they believe in. So they are atheistic to the Greek pantheon and the Roman pantheon and the Etruscan pantheon. So, but it feels disingenuous to say that because it feels like a zinger. It feels like a one-liner, like, aha, I got you. But like everyone does have atheistic mindsets in regards to particular things. Because if I told a Christian, yes, your God exists, but so does Zeus, they'd be like, no, Zeus doesn't exist. That's the definition of atheism. You don't believe in Zeus. You don't believe in that God. So you are atheistic towards that God. So to say that atheism is a tumor in society is to say that every human being has a tumorous idea in their head. Atheism is simply a lack of belief in things. Can we start shaming extroverts the same way we shame introverts? Quit being so loud. Me? Amy B. Incorrect. Not before God. I'm not sure what's that's in reference to. If it's in reference to the maxim of reciprocity of the golden rule, I mean, it existed for 2,000 years before Christianity. Oh, it definitely is a tumor. I'm an ex-atheist. Far from here, every believer is an ex-atheist. Every believer is an atheist, but they eventually... See, everyone's born an atheist. No one believes in gods when they're born. They are taught that gods exist. The quote is before Jesus. Do you believe in Vishnu? In the Bible. Oh, it definitely is a tumor. I'm an ex-atheist. You're incorrect, Far. And that's cool. See, that's the fun thing. See, you're making an objective statement. I'm making subjective statements. When you say, oh, atheism is definitely a tumor, you're wrong. And that's okay. It's okay to be wrong. I'm wrong plenty of times. I've been wrong in my life enough times to know that I will be wrong again. Everyone is an atheist, correct? Oh, Far says we're demons. See, there's another problem. Demons also don't exist.